Real estate rewired.
So this is what I've got. Today's guest built something from nothing, and I mean that literally. Rebecca Morris was a project engineer at the top 5 national general contractor when the Great Recession hit. She was laid off with 2 small children, been there, done that, moved to Phoenix with no job, no network, and really asked a simple question. Why doesn't Arizona have a central intelligence source for the construction and development industry? That question became the Arizona's Builder Exchange, or the AZBEX, which was launched in 2010. 16 years later, she's grown it into the go-to platform for commercial real estate and construction firms across Arizona and Nevada. And is it AZBEX?
Yeah. Yeah, we call it
AZBEX, you publish twice a weekly industry news, runs a proprietary project leads database called AZBEX, and produces 10 plus live events a year, including their annual construction forecast conferences. Rebecca is the president and founder of BEX, and she sits on the board of the National Builders Exchange Network. She knows where every major project in the Southwest is being planned, funded, and built before most people even hear about it. Rebecca, welcome to Real Estate Rewired. How was that? Did that cover it?
It did. Yeah. That was great. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, it was Turner Construction. I mean, you're from New York. You probably know Turner Construction.
Yep.
You're welcome to name drop. I don't think that they used to be a little picky about that, but honestly, they can't really touch me. So you're welcome to say Turner Construction if you want. Yeah. AZBEX is usually what everybody knows us as, is AZBEX, Arizona Builders Exchange. So
cool.
yeah.
I love that. So I always like to start here, right? Nobody that I've ever talked to in real estate was like, hey, when I was 8 years, not nobody, there was one person. Most people at 8 years old aren't going, oh, I want to get into creating databases for commercial construction projects, right? Like, so kind of give me the journey when you were a kid, like what fired you up? You know what I mean? Like, what were the things that came easy to you as a kid?
Yeah, so I have a, 5th grade art project where I don't remember what it was. It was probably something like design like your dream bedroom, except for I put like a pool in it and I put like all this other stuff and it turned into a house. And the note from the teacher was like, you should be an architect. Of course, it was like, crayons on a napkin
Right.
style. So I've always kind of just like thought about that stuff. I liked it. I just was it's intriguing, right? So didn't know what I wanted to do. My dad is a plumber, like of all things. So
Right.
like I worked on the summer jobs. I worked with him. I've dug some trenches. I understand what that takes a little bit. No skill there, by the way. There's a reason I'm in the office and not in the field. And then, yeah, when I was applying to college, it was in the 90s. And, internet applications were pretty new. And I thought I wanted to go to school for civil engineering. And in those days, clunky college applications, I scrolled down too far and hit construction management and went, you can go to school for construction? That's awesome. So I did.
Wow. Well, there's a great book called Fluke, if you ever get a chance to pick it up, Fluke.
Love book.
And it really talks about, and it's really kind of fascinating if you think about it, on any level, anything that we did differently in our life, we're not having this conversation right now.
Absolutely.
And
Everything is so
yeah,
perfect.
I mean, and we have no concept of how the things are going to line up for the future. But I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, it's pretty interesting because construction, you really do have a vision of what something is going to be, and then you build that and you bring it into reality.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so what part of it, like when you were first getting into it, like what were your misconceptions or like what were like your aha moments while you were studying? Like, wow, I had no idea.
Most things. Like if you talk to anyone who's studying construction as like a first year freshman, we have no idea what the actual job is. Like I still didn't know until I actually went out and did an internship. And then it was kind of introduced to this massive difference of like, my dad is a plumber. Like he runs service calls. He does like small, like a house being built. He can do the plumbing on that. He had some commercial work. And then you get into really big stuff. And like when I was in school, all my instructors were highway civil engineers. And so then you're looking at blueprints and you're like, wow, this is big. This is like, and then you're worried about like, what size equipment do you put on this? And like, how fast do production rates change? And how many graders do you need? How many excavators do you need? Like that was very much mind boggling. And then my first internship was a wastewater treatment plant expansion. They process poo. That's what they do. So day one, the engineer on site, he took me down. He goes, well, you need to understand where the water goes. He goes, if you're going to
Mm,
envision this entire thing, this is a wastewater treatment plant. He goes, dirty water comes in, clean water goes out. He goes, we're the ones that make it all happen, like all the steps in between. And he took me down. It's called the sludge, like the rakes. They pull
mm-hmm,
out, essentially step by step, is smaller and smaller debris. So if you
mm-hmm.
can imagine the largest, excuse me, that comes in the inlet, that's where he took
Right.
me. And he was like
Love
trying
that.
to puke.
There you go. Well, listen, luckily you had been on a couple of plumbing jobs with your dad in the summer that might have been a little rough. So,
Oh yeah, my dad did take me on those ones.
okay. But no, what's occurring to me is I'm a New York guy, right? I love New York. And when I look at the infrastructure and the foresight that they had for Central Park and the sewage system and the subways and like what was created with the thought of, hey, how are we going to serve these 8 million people that live here?
Hmm.
It's really a form of gratitude that I have. Like, thank God they were thinking like that.
The appreciation for how much work and how far in advance did you have to think of these things,
Yes.
right? How far, there's decades of planning. Highways take decades.
Yeah, and then I think about when you see these, in Rome, there's a bridge from 100 BC that's still up and running, and then by me, the Tappan Zee Bridge, after 50 years, they have to replace it. So
Hmm.
one of the things I'm curious about is how do you sort of reconcile the economic imperatives? Everything is so expensive, return on investment, all of that stuff
Hmm.
with the sort of legacy reality of what is this thing going to look like or be 20, 25, 30, 50 years from now? Like, is there a conflict in there?
No.
Okay.
Public investment, not in the public dollars. On the private side, that's very much a private firm makes those kind of ROI calculations. And generally, private money loves real estate, right? Once it's built. So
Mm,
definitely the economics of the risk of, do we invest now or do we wait? Do we have patient capital? Do we have, aggressive capital that needs to get out real quick because the market can change and development takes years. So
mm,
there's the push and pull. On the public side, generally, there's exceptions to everything, but generally speaking, you want things to last as long as possible because money
hmm.
today is going to be more expensive if you wait, right? Like there's
Right.
not a lot of things that go down in price. So
Right.
the money invested today's infrastructure, they're going for durability. Every single project I look at, the municipality, city, state government, local school districts, whatever, they very much want durability. They want longevity. They understand that this is incredibly expensive and it is not their money. It is taxpayer money. So
Hmm.
they're very judicious, very thoughtful, I actually have a very high, hold them in very high regard. I think they make very smart decisions. They're very responsible. And at the end of the day, our laws are written so that if they abuse taxpayer money, they personally go to jail.
Mm,
I'm not mad at that either. They
yeah.
should be held accountable. But overall, my impression of the people who design and build infrastructure, especially, is they want the very best value for the taxpayer dollars. And a huge component of that is how long can it serve the public good? The public owns those assets, right?
Mm.
Infrastructure is publicly owned assets. We need it to work. We need to work for the long term.
Love that. So we're going back now. You clicked on the wrong major in college, which led you down this career path. You get out into the poop factory as your first sort of deal.
Got
And
it.
then and now where were you living at that point? Like where were you?
I was in Southern California,
Okay. San Diego, was that it?
Orange County. So the
Okay,
one with
Orange
San Juan
County.
Capistrano was the wastewater treatment plant expansion.
Got it. And then what was your next gig? Like walk me through to the point where the layoff happened or that whole deal.
Sure, I worked for a regional kind of mid-sized general contractor called MAP Construction in LA. They do some amazing like historic renovation projects, really cool stuff. And they had a job up in Oregon, and I was a California kid, and I was like, "Hey, I've never lived anywhere but California. Would love to go see something else, and you need an engineer, and I'd like to go somewhere else." So they took me up to Oregon, and up in Oregon was kind of a little bit of a culture shock. Like it was a small town going from
Mm,
LA, East LA, and it rained a lot, and I expected it to rain, so that's fine. And I did one project for them, and then I really liked it up there. Just everything's green. It rains a lot, it didn't really bother me. And the two things that Oregon had over California is housing prices that you can afford. My first house was $160,000. You don't get that in California, even in
right.
2009, 2005, anything like that. And then commute times. in LA, it was the running joke of no matter where in the greater LA
Mhm.
basin you live, your assigned project will be 2 hours away. Even if your company has a project, like, real close to you, it was
Mhm.
just the running joke of, like, you're gonna spend 2 hours a day in traffic each way. And that neither of those sounded attractive to me, so I jumped ship. I went over to Turner Construction. They had a $400 million hospital going down the road, and, engineers that are degreed and, a little bit of experience, there wasn't necessarily a whole lot of them walking around. They were like, "Oh, yeah." So, that was a fairly easy, kinda transition, just go over to the big job that's half a mile down the road, and did that for 3.5 years, and then by then, the market had changed dramatically. Yeah, you kinda nailed it. Like, I had 2 small children, and I was moving to Phoenix for family. Like, that was just
Mhm.
kind of the decision. Turner did have an office here, and I did approach them, and I said, "Hey, do you need an engineer?" And they're like, "No, it's 2009. No, we do
Yeah.
not. Nobody
2008.
needs
Boy,
engineers."
every real estate person I talked to, if they were around back then, that was like, oh my God,
It was the worst. And
it
so
was the worst.
yeah.
And I
So
I I did I bought my first condo overseas in 2007 in the Dominican Republic.
oh, okay.
And yeah, well, by 2009, like literally, they had invested all the money that for the first condo to try to build something else, and that fell apart, and they couldn't pay people back. And literally, there were pictures of the workers coming, taking the copper out of my condo. So I said, "Oh, I'm not doing overseas." But anyway, it was
Yeah,
something else.
that's brutal.
So you get into Phoenix, you're
Yeah.
laid off, and
Yep.
then and listen, so right, so you're like, okay, now what? So what was the genesis of the problem that you saw?
Yeah, so that
And
was
why
kind
you
of
wanted to solve it. Like, how did that happen?
absolutely. Yeah, so what I did have as up in Oregon, there is something, it's a publication, it's like a hard copy kind of newsprint style publication. It came out every day up in the Portland market, and Eugene was kind of adjacent, so we picked it up. And that's where something called public notices. So when I worked for Turner Construction, that's where I had to, by law, put all of my calls for subbids. So on a public job in Oregon, you must publicly advertise, hey, subcontractors, all the fencing, plumbing, steel, paint, yeah, all the trades, like, hey, we have this publicly funded job. We're going to do a public call for sub bids. So I was familiar with the publications. That's kind of how we did it. And I was like, cool, I want that, but I want it for Arizona. That's exactly what I was looking for, was something that just tracked the work. I had articles and a bunch of other stuff I found interesting. And I said, I want to know what's going on in Arizona. And I poked around, couldn't find it. And I hemmed and hawed, and I was like, well, okay, well, if I want to read it, maybe somebody else does. Kind of that was a whole origin story of, like, if it's good information, and I didn't have the money for market research, and I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what that was called. But my go no go said something like, okay, I have this idea for something that tracks the construction, development, and infrastructure markets. I don't know what I'm doing, but here's what I'm going to do. If I want to read it, maybe somebody else does. And if this thing fails spectacularly, I will blow through my savings. I will give it everything I've got, and I will know who's got the work, and I'll go hit him up for a job. That was
So,
my go, no
now
go. And I
this
said,
is
well, if
just
that's the worst that can happen
I love this. So there's 2 parts to this. So one, this is just for public, because public projects have to be by law.
in
You gotta get
Oregon.
the inf right,
Yeah,
in
we don't
Oregon.
have that law in Arizona. So the private stuff came later,
Interesting.
when people were telling me, hey, I want more private work. I want more on the real estate end. Can you track more on this? And then I was just too dumb to quit. And then you just keep asking people, hey, what do you need? What are you looking for? Like, what's interesting to you? And you kind of, direct it that way. So very much
So
customer driven.
it's so interesting because I was just talking to a commercial broker in Dallas. Love this young Vietnamese woman. It was just a great story, and she's got 2 young kids, immigrant, got into commercial real estate, got an MBA, super but her pain point is hours and hours and hours, and as she specializes in nail salons and
Okay.
hours and hours and hours of research in CoStar, incomplete information. They're not telling the truth. The brokers are hiding stuff. Like, her clients think she's not doing a good job because she didn't know this, but they didn't
That
put
I'm
it in
telling.
there. So would that be similar in the space that you're in when you got to Phoenix?
There's just
That there
nothing
was
there. Yeah.
what
Yeah, they couldn't find it. Yeah, so the stuff I was writing about, the stuff I was tracking, just wasn't out there.
got it.
CoStar is out there, and it's good. I mean, they call us looking for
Right.
stuff, but at the end of the day, for construction, it's a little incomplete. It's not necessarily the right direction, the right path.
So let me ask you this. Every entrepreneur I've talked to, when you start something new, your skill set is not great,
Sorely
right? Meaning
lacking?
Yeah, well, trying to be gentle. Let me put it this way: when I
I'm
started,
sorely lacking.
I sucked. You know what I mean? And right. And so there's this really interesting, weird thing that entrepreneurs have, that ability to stand in front of other people knowing that you know very, very little, right? And don't know if they know a lot more than you or what it is. So where did that grit come from in you to sort of get into that space knowing how much you didn't know?
First of all, I overestimate my knowledge consistently, and I
Mm.
overestimate my ability to figure stuff out. As an engineer, your job is just figure it out. There's no
Mhm.
there's no like, manual most of the time. Uh, and then it was just like, well, I started this thing, better figure it out. There's no, something goes wrong. It's like, oh, there's no IT department to call. All right, let's figure it out. And then you learn. And your three options as a micro business, as a startup are you figure it out, you learn how to fix it yourself. You can outsource it, but that's generally very expensive and we generally can't afford it. Or you can hire an in-house or have one of if you have a couple staff, you let them kind of figure it out. You let them do all that. You train them, develop them, have them learn the missing skill set. So those are your kind of only three options: is do it yourself, do it in-house, or outsource it. Uh,
Or
we
don't
can't
get out of
usually.
bed. Or
What's
don't
that?
get out of bed or don't get out of bed in
Oh,
the
that's
morning.
not an option if you still want a bed to sleep in next month
Yeah.
to pay your rent.
And if you have 2 young kids.
Yeah, yeah, there was a lot of back up against the wall, kind of like there was times there was one time I had a business checking and a personal checking, like no credit cards, nothing that would just get me in trouble. So I went there and I had both accounts were just overdrawn and my gas tank was on empty and I was like, well, praying a check comes in today, otherwise I don't know how I'm driving home because I don't have enough gas. So it did.
Yep,
But you take
absolutely.
those kinds of bets and you just hope and pray and you find a way to still smile and absolutely like just get through it. Yeah, it's a lot easier now. I don't have those kinds of challenges.
Yes, thank gosh. And that was 16 years now? It's been
16,
about 16. Okay.
correct.
So from where you started and the initial so articulate to me the initial problem. Who
Mhm.
was your ideal client profile? What problem did they have, and what gap were you trying to close?
Yeah, so Great Recession, right? 2010, early 2010. Everybody's sorely lacking work, right? They are
Mm.
desperate to find jobs. They've already been through several rounds of layoffs. They're looking for their next project. So that was kind of the need in the market. There were a lot of like bid sources. You can find those are like not a dime a dozen because there's some very large players in that space. We offered a cheaper solution to that first. But the things that those bid platforms don't offer is something like tracking real estate development. Private work is notoriously difficult. There's
Mhm.
no public bid requirements, right? There's no public procurement process in place. It's all private. They can do whatever they want, which is fine. That's their money. So tracking that is incredibly difficult. And then what we consistently heard when we just talked to people is, hey, if you tell me about jobs earlier, then I can set up a call. I can drop in with some donuts and at least figure out who the right person is and like figure out like what's important to them that we might not see on the documents. But if we can kind of leverage, hey, we're really good at X and X is really important to you, like let's focus on that. Being able to kind of do that pre-selling, that business development tactics, there was just nothing like that. There's no resource for that. So what we've kind of grown into is, hey, if you track projects from early planning stages in the real estate side, or if you track them from the capital improvement plan on the public side and you track it all the way through, there's an enormous amount of people that can kind of find it whenever they need it and they pick and choose whatever works for them and then they can go get work. So the concept now is tracking major projects from early planning stages all the way through construction. And then if you're looking for that service work, if you're a construction cleanup crew, you pick it up near the end of construction. If you're temp services near the start of construction, if you're a design firm, you need it way earlier. All this kind of, if you just track the big stuff. And we don't go after every small project. We're not after nail salons. That's too small for us to worry about. But really big projects, there's a lot of people that get a small piece of those. So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
Great, I love that. And then where it is today compared to where you thought it would be, like, when you started this, what were the sort of unintended consequences or benefits or expansion opportunities that are currently in place that you had no idea when you started it could be in place?
Uh, so there's so many things that are potential, and the hardest thing is staying very much in our lane. Because if we start doing everything that's outside, everything that's potential, we'll just dilute it and just be crappy at, our core service. So anymore, we have our 3 service lines. It is the magazine, it is the database, it is the events. We will do those 3 and we'll do them to the very best of our abilities. We don't need to do extra stuff. So all these ideas we kind of kick around every once in a while.
Right.
And it's like that help us do these 3 things. And we do it with our current staff. Can we do it with our current capacity? Staff capacities are generally our limiting reactant, is we just don't have the staff capacity to track
And
anything else.
how many people on staff?
15, 16
Got
is
it.
me.
So run me through those 3 quote unquote business lines. Like, who do they serve? What do they do? What's the workflow? Like, tell me a little bit more.
So the magazine, it's twice a week publication, so a little bit closer to a daily newspaper than a once a week. You can't lose the time on like an open active. So if the state of Arizona is looking for a design firm, an architecture firm to build a, vertical building, that window to chase that opportunity, usually 3 to 4 weeks, you can't lose a whole week. So
Got it.
once a week publication frequency would never work. Daily also doesn't work for us. We can't turn it around that fast. Can't do that. So twice a week is kind of our sweet spot. And that looks like sourcing procurements. So sourcing open active. Who's looking for an architect? Who needs, a painter? Like those very down to the ground, immediate, low hanging fruit, current opportunities. That's about half the magazine. I have reporters on staff. So actually going out and checking planning and zoning meetings, downloading those enormous packets and writing an article about it to say developer X is planning project Y at location Z. And then just it's the who, what, when, where, but that's an article. We'll take something that could be a staff report might be kind of short, sometimes like 5, 15 pages. The packet might be 50 or 150 pages, depending on how much stuff they're putting in there. That 50 or 100 pages is too much for a reader to go through and actually understand what's important. So we'll kind of digest that packet information, write an article that can be consumed in 3 to 5 minutes, right? So something very down to the ground, but that's the early stages, right? That's the stuff that says, hey, they probably won't break ground for 2 years. We're in zoning right now. Like that's slow, right? It's early. So that's kind of the 2, I would say opposite ends of the same spectrum of like, hey, they need a painter right now. Hey, I'm a painter. I can quote that. I can send in my bid. I can get the work. Cool. Versus that, hey, I need years to start a relationship, to set those meetings, to introduce my team, to see if there's alignment in culture and values and all the other pre-sale type activities before you even get to the bid stage. So that's kind of our concept and information. A bunch of other little sections we put into the magazine, but it is an actual PDF. So we have graphic designers on staff that actually compile it into a digital magazine. Being a PDF, you can save them. So then being
Right.
something that people can, actually do, that's very different style than like a database application. So a magazine, it's accessible. Like I understand what I can do with that. People can send it, it's corporate wide, so anybody in the team can have it. So, entry level engineers, they can read it and be like, cool, I read the newsletter, like, or the newspaper. Like I understand, like at least kind of start to get awareness of what's going on in the market. Sales teams can pick through it. Sales teams spend 30 minutes, 60 minutes with it every Tuesday, every Friday. Start dialing, start picking up the phone, start emailing. Hey, I saw this. Hey, I saw this. Like, let's go do this. Or what about this? Do you need our services over here? So wide spectrum of information, wide audience, kind of gets value out of it. So that's the magazine. The database feeds the magazine and vice versa. So a lot of the stories we pick up, we aggregate from other media and we write our own. That feeds the database. So if we had something in planning and zoning 2 years ago, keeping it up to date is the hard part. It's not hard to find a project. Very difficult to keep it up to date. The property might sell, might change teams, companies go out of business, all the stuff, your tenant cancels their LOI, like all those things, like it's real tough to track, especially that that private real estate development. So having the magazine, keeping that database because we have all the documents there. The database picks up like all the planning and zoning meetings, picks up all that capital improvement plan, and just keeps it up to date. So identifying the who, the when, the where, documents are our friend. We love our documents.
And Rebecca, how do you collect the intel? Because in Oregon, how talk to me about that. Like, how do you do
Oh,
that?
there's nothing secretive or overly complex about them. Based on kind of the stuff you're looking for, you put them on a list. You have the date, like, hey, there's a city council meeting on Tuesday, April 14th. Cool. we're going to check for the agenda on Monday the 13th because by law it has to be up 24 hours before the meeting happens. We'll know what's there. The agendas actually have a packets linked, so that's our better one. And then, usually within 7 days, the results are posted. So kind of our next immediate step, hey, did it get passed? Those kinds of things. So very calendar based. We call it a sweep. It's just every, on this date, I check these. On this date, I check these. Very different pieces of information, collect it, slice and dice it, filter, sort, upload, kind of where it goes, kind of direct it. Does it go in the magazine? Does it go over here? And all that stuff. And the last,
And and there's a human in the loop on that, or is
there
that all
is.
automated? Yeah.
We are not automated. We try every year. That's actually one of the things I would love to get your opinion on in a bit is we try tools that automate
Hmm.
it, that tell us, web scraping tools. We try those things every year. They are not as good as a human. And in our world, we don't want to miss. We do
Correct.
not want to miss. Like I have to catch 100% of these things.
Yes.
It's rare that we have like I don't think we ever have big misses anymore. Occasionally we'll miss like a smaller one, and that's like kind of like we missed one. Why did we
Mm,
miss that? So yeah, no, it is not automated. There's absolutely a human in the loop. In the
interesting.
future, I think we could get automated, but it has to
Yeah,
be.
and that's a conversation we'll have because what in the way that I always frame this, Rebecca, there's like the black, the white, and the gray. And the black for me is I use a doctor analogy. Yeah, I can always send me a text 24 hours ahead of time saying confirm your appointment, hit 1, 2, 3. If I whatever. I don't care if it messes up. Reading my blood results to me, if there's bad news, 100% of the time, I want to be in front of a human being.
Yeah.
But there's this huge area of gray in the middle in
Mm-hmm.
terms of workflows, processes. And, it's an interesting space that I see just because it can be automated. Should it be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then
Yeah.
even more importantly, like if I love to do it, like I know right now, there are things that can create a avatar of me and you're actually not talking to me. You're talking to my avatar, but I love this.
Right.
So I want to do this. This is what fires me up.
Yeah.
This is why I like it.
Yeah.
So I think, a lot of the companies that I'm working with or a lot of the people I'm talking to, it's changing so quickly. It's really about identifying those workflows, those tasks, those job descriptions, really breaking it down. Can AI do it? Should it do it?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be doing it 6 months from now? How do we position our organization to become sort of like AI forward, where
Mm-hmm.
there's a real process to like look at these things on a regular basis? Like that's a whole other conversation, but I guess I'm just thinking out loud because boy, what you're doing has so many moving pieces.
It does.
And then so you haven't even gotten into the live events yet.
The events, I mean, at the end of the day, we run a database of major projects, so we can tell you who's got the biggest projects out there. I can do that. I
Right.
also know from talking to people for the past 16 years, what do they want to hear from? They don't necessarily want to hear from us. We do some presentations and I do a lot of speaking. But at the end of the day, if they're looking for projects, they want to hear from owners. Like, hey, I have a project. I will be building X, Y, and Z over the next 3 to 5 years. So our formula is incredibly simple. There's, again, nothing overly magical about it.
Mhm.
Put 3 owners up on stage, have a sponsor moderate, ask them what they have coming. After that, I don't really care. You take the conversation in any direction. Anybody that wants to work for those owners will come in here because if I can put 3 of them up in a room, saves them a couple days of driving around. They get the networking of 100. Well, tomorrow I've got 160 people coming to hear from 2 public owners in Maricopa County. So 1 city and then 1 regional government official. I've got a contractor moderating because they get the FaceTime with their clients that they do a ton of
Right.
work with. 160 people are coming. We're going to have PowerPoints in the first 20 to 30 minutes. Hi, I have this project coming. Here's the status. Hi, I have this project coming. Here's the status. Here's the state of our funding. Here's what we're doing internally to change how we deliver projects. So if you guys want to do these, design and construction, you probably want to know this. So it's very simple in formula, but nothing magical. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking for work, I build all the products. And if I'm doing what you do, here's what I want to know. And then you just figure
Mm.
that out. That's kind of fun.
So what part of it do you love, Rebecca?
Most of it. There are very few things I do not absolutely love. My favorite stuff is talking to people, similar to you, is talking to people. And I really love when they get stuck because they'll say, I want to know X. And I'll be like, let me see what I can do. Let me think about that. So just some of those like basic things like sometimes people will reach out to me. A real common scenario is, hey, I have to present to upper management, or hey, my execs are coming into town from back east. I have to talk about the market and I have to justify, the direction. Like we've written our strategic plan because that's their job. But I have to use outside sources to either prove or disprove, yes, this is a valid path. That's where we come in because we are neutral. All we do is talk about the market. So if you want, 15 projects that say, this is the right path or there's opportunity here because we have data on this. Like there's opportunity here. That's a real common one. And then sometimes they'll say, I want to answer this, or my boss asked me this. Do you have any data points on it? That's where we get excited. That's my favorite thing is to be able to do that. And now we've been doing it for a while is to be able to show the history. So the longer I'm in it, the more I realize how much value those trend lines have. And to say like, this was true last year, but here's what's changing this year. Here's what you need to know, with numbers. Numbers don't generally lie.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So as I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking about loving talking to people, filtered through the engineer brain, which is like, okay, there's data, there's it, there's a pool of laborers over here, there's projects over here. Like, how do we get these two people connected in a way that benefits both?
Absolutely.
And that's a problem that can be engineered to be a lot smoother depending on how accurate your data is
Hmm.
and how your processes line up to get that data to the people as quickly as possible. 100% accurate, 99.99. And that process brings you a lot of joy.
It is very fun. When we hire people, one of the screening type questions is, do you like puzzles? You almost
Mm,
have to like puzzles because that figure it out kind of concept. We generally do not get to hire people that have done what we do before. So you're
right.
hiring for aptitude and attitude. And part of that is like, do you have a really strong attention to detail? Can you tell if something doesn't make sense? Like you have to be able
Mm.
to pick up on that and figure it out and correct it. And then do you like puzzles? You have to enjoy figuring it out. And I love that part. I absolutely love it.
All right. So then let's talk about AI for a second because I'm
Yes.
dying to know. Okay. So I would say there's 4 or 5 stages, right? There's some people who are just like, "Oh my god, I can't." Like social media, internet, AI, like, "Leave me
Right?
alone. I don't even wanna hear about it," right?
Right?
There's other people who, they went on a free ChatGPT and they had a conversation. They're like, "Oh, this is kinda cool." Like, "Oh, I can answer an email." Like, "Oh, I asked it. Oh, this is kinda cool." Then there are the folks who got a paid version and they started to, like, get a little fired up but then they get a little bit overwhelmed because they're like, okay, oh my God, like I'll have like this brilliant business plan that
Hmm.
I've worked on for hours, but I can't find it because it's in a thread like where's Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
Yeah.
So you get into that place where you're like, oh my God, this is great, but like you're not really having any systematized way to really structure it. Then the next level are people who are really kind of get it in terms of the power of it and have a systematized way to identify job description, tasks, workflow, and have put in place a system of how to put it in place.
Mm. Okay.
Because, right? I mean, it's not a one-time thing. It's not like a SaaS where you're going to download QuickBooks and use it for 25 years. It's like, oh my God, what I've created. This product that I bought today that I plugged into my GHL, I can do this on my own 3 months from now. Like, how do we
Uh-huh.
realize, right? The workflow, it's just, there's a lot. And then there are the folks who are really, I would say, the most advanced, where they're really utilizing the capability of planning,
Mm.
development, looking at the future, looking at GEO. And what I find most interesting about that is, do the people start with, what do I love to do? I always say AI can turn what you love into a superpower and take what you hate off your plate. Do they really understand that, like, this is not about layering chaos on top of dysfunction? This is like a breakthrough where, man, I get to do what I love 90% of the time,
Hmm.
and AI can do most of the other stuff. So in those sort of camps, where do you find yourself?
I want to believe that I understand the power of it. I do not have the systems in place to stay with it, but that's where I think about all the time because a lot of my business, like thinking about the business, is cool. AI is going to do this in the future. It cannot do what we do now. It
Hmm.
will do a significant portion of like our really basic kind of document processing. We don't have that set up yet. We've tested it, can't figure it out yet. So that's like we're still playing. We're still in that like figuring it out kind of thing. But where my head goes is like in 3 to 5 years or less, you know, there's going to be a huge portion of our work that is AI. But then I'm also very cognizant of the fact that most things that we do can't be delivered without a human involved.
Correct.
Even though in theory, like, oh, it's a magazine. Oh yeah, it's totally
Yeah,
coming for
no,
your job. No, it's not. It doesn't
it
know
is
the
not.
questions to ask, and it doesn't know anything that's not online. So if anything happens offline, that AI will never know. And that's where like events come in, right? You want to hear from this
Right.
guy that's like, hey, we're talking about doing this thing, and like we don't have any kind of approval, so like nobody's supposed to know about it yet. That's brilliant. That's what I want.
Well, I got to tell you, Rebecca, and this is what I'm seeing. It's every business is a reflection of the owner, right? I mean, and not only the owner, like your true operating system, your identity, I don't know if the Carl Jung quote, if we don't make the unconscious conscious, it will dictate our actions and we'll call it fate,
Ooh, I love that.
right? So you look at AI, to me, it's just patterns, right? It's the entire history of humanity is in one place. You put inputs in, it goes, hey, well, that happened in the past. This is what it looks like in the future. And human beings are the same way, right? Like I have an operating system, a lot of it I'm unconscious of.
Hmm.
But the owners who are successful recognize that their business is a reflection of their inner operating system. And if something's not working out here or can be done better out here, it starts with like, okay, what do I need to change in here?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll
Fair.
stop there for a second. What do you think about that framing of it?
Spot on, right? Like it starts at the top. I'm a super hands-on, like I'm involved in most aspects. I don't do everything. Obviously, I have like 15 people,
Right.
and you can't do. This is not a one person kind of operation. It's a small team.
Right.
So yeah, it absolutely starts with, I have a lot of the team is AI resistant. It's in the
Yes.
the fear category of like, oh,
Thank
but what
God. Thank God, Rebecca. Thank God
for them
they
being
are.
fearful of it.
Yes. Can I tell you why? I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it, please.
Okay. Because we do not understand. We have no concept of the transformation that's going to happen in 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
None. The big LLM models, they're going after wages. They realize
Mm-hmm.
that's an $11 trillion industry, and anybody that's owned by private equity, if I can get in there and eliminate 25% of the workforce, the stock's going through the roof, I'm getting my return on investment. So the pressure of all the money that these companies are raising, the ChatGPTs and the Googles, the pressure is on basically automating as much as possible so
Everything.
that listen, we may not fire the accountants, but we got 3 of them that can do the job of 20 now.
Mm-hmm.
And next year it'll be 2 that can do the job of 20, and the year after that, right? So, like,
Yeah.
that's where it is, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What's slowing it down is human resistance,
Mm-hmm.
and thank God it is,
Right.
because it's forcing it to kind of, like, go, "All right," like, tamp it down a little bit, but the companies that do enroll their people in seeing this as, like, a force multiplier, like, literally see it as, "Oh, wait a minute. This is the part of my job I really love. Here's the part I really don't love. It's a pain in the ass." Like, "Oh, this is about me doing more of what I love and then creating different lines of revenue, serving different people, being creative about how to utilize AI to do that within our core mission." Those are the companies that are, like, positioned to just because think about it. Now you've got 15 employees that are 10 times more productive and more fired up
Right.
and AI native
Mm-hmm.
and going, "Oh, this is fun,"
Right.
right? Man, that's a vision of something. I mean, that's what I get fired up about.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. There's again back to one of my statements of AI doesn't know anything that's offline. Part of our hardest roles or whatnot, part of the hardest workflows is getting hold of people because we have questions that you can't find online, right? Like
Hmm.
very basic kind of thing that I would say is what AI will enable us to do more of. Uh, but maybe our people aren't always like excited about doing that. So there's still some things that like you have to do to deliver this product well. And AI will free you up to do more of that, like really high end. Like I always say, like, how can I direct people into their highest and best use? Right. Like I
Hmm.
want you to be doing your most valuable work. Delegate, let go of like the
Yeah.
junk, but that's the low level stuff. But for us, there's going to be some interesting conversations around like, hey, we do have these tools that can do this processing and this in some ways it's not mindless, but it is like, kind of the rote, if this, then that, very process driven kind
Well,
of stuff. And you're going
and
to have to do kind of the harder,
yeah,
boring
but
stuff.
Rebecca, this is what I found. It always starts with the owner. Like it, and this has
You're
been my
correct.
experience when I'm working with people, right? Gotta find something the owner just is either knows that they should be doing and doesn't do just because it's a pain in the ass, right? Or something that's just like, "Oh, this has taken too much of my time." Find that one practical use case
Mhm.
where they're like, "Oh my God." Once the owner gets fired up and they can't stop talking about it, then all of a sudden, like the employees kind of go like, "Oh my God, Rebecca's like here she is, like leading by example of like
For sure.
very slowly, right?" Then people start asking, "Oh, how did you do that?" "Well, I took this class or I did this thing." And all of a sudden there's a different feeling about it. And it's like I've been sober for 41 years in AA, right?
Regret.
Thank you. And one of the things they talk about is attraction rather than promotion. Like you'll
Okay.
never see an ad for AA.
Okay.
So what it is like, oh, this guy used to be a jerk. He was drunk all the time. Now he's cleaned up pretty good. He's looks like what the hell did he
Right.
do? Right on. So I think it's the same way with AI. It's
Mm.
like the person who owns the business has to kind of get like, they go, "Oh my God, Rebecca's really fired up." So anyway, I'm a little off track, but what are your thoughts about that?
100% agree. So I hang out with people who are a lot. I always try to hang out with people who are a lot
Yeah,
better than me. One of my very good friends is AI. I don't even, whatever above empowered is. Like
right.
she's AI everything. And
Mhm.
she's who I'm like, I want to be like you when I grow up. Just very systematic, very strategic, implementing it. And to your point, just exploring with it, like just having
Mhm.
fun with it. Like, what can we do over here? And she very much exemplifies what you talk about is she's got a small team. They're much more productive. And it is using AI in the appropriate use cases, testing it, vetting it, deploying it, and iterating on that. Testing it again. What can you do better? What do you need to do differently? Kind of that thing. So experimentation is a big part of it and seeing what works and making sure it keeps the quality and the accuracy where you need it.
Love it. Rebecca, I feel like I could talk to you all day.
Likewise. I
Yeah,
have an
this
idea
is
for you. Can I run
let
an
me hear
idea
it. Let
by
me
you?
hear it. Come on, lay it on me.
Okay, so what I love looking at stuff, right? Like in our world, for example, do you federal government procurement, right? The federal government builds stuff, right? And hires architects, engineers, contractors. They have to use sam.gov, okay? So as a use case, sam.gov puts out like a web page and says, "Hey, in Arizona, they're going to build, a VA clinic." Absolutely fantastic. I want that. Like that's a raw piece of data for me that's very interesting and I want to process it into my platform, into my magazine, and do all the things we do. So on sam.gov, I did this about a week ago, 15,000 open active opportunities. That's a little too much for us to look at, right? So I found an API, I found a way to kind of export it, and I was like, cool. So I actually have a number. We're very location centric, and construction in general has to be done at a very specific location. Like that's very location based. A full 2/3 of those 15,000 line items don't have a location. How would AI tell me? And so it's in the wrong field. It's a human putting it in because that's their job. They have, hundreds or however many procurement people working for the federal government has to put it on sam.gov and they don't fill it out all the way. So when I actually do an
Wow.
API, when I actually do an export, I'm looking at 2/3 junk. I can't filter. I can sort and filter like all day long with the best of them. Like I'm good at that.
Mhm.
But instead, there'll be something like cool. For example, one of the ones that has no location is a line item that says WAPA Region 8, Western Area Power Authority, Region 8. Arizona happens to be part of Region 8. That makes it relevant, but I didn't have any any of the right fields filled out. So my question to you is, knowing that we have garbage and large data sets that are somewhat crappy for us, would it be, and like I can't think through like how to write scripts or how to write AI prompts to even take on something that's like 2/3 bad, but I know there's good stuff hiding in the
Mm-hmm.
2/3. My question to you is there's people out there that are very, very good at
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. Is there a way to put up like a little bit of a contest to put like a use case and say, hey, I have this problem. Help me find the best solution. Is there like a way to do like a little contest or something for people?
That's a great idea. I love that. That you're talking about game theory. You're
Yeah, a
talking
little bit.
about, yeah. So, well, this is where it gets fun. I'm sure there is, and I know that like have you been playing around with Claude Code yet? Claude Cowork at all?
I don't do coding very well. That is not my area.
No, me neither. But have you played with Claude,
I've played with Claude, but not the coding part at
the
all.
paid version?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you attached it to your Gmail and your work suite and all that stuff yet?
No, no.
Rebecca, that's your first move. Let me tell you why.
Really?
Okay, well, I'll just give you a use case that I had, and I'll explain. Guy from England, he's a big shot in England. He invented Zillow. He was going to introduce me to a gazillion brokers over there. You know, like a nice guy, musician. We hit it off, about the same age. Well, I completely dropped the ball. There was a blizzard here. I had to get my mother to Connecticut.
Hmm.
It was just one of those things where I dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So he reached back out, and I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? This is bad. I
Mm-hmm.
went into Claude and I said, give me the context of the entire conversation we had and
Mm.
craft a response to him. And like Claude came back and went, dude, you messed this up. Like, this is like the best referral source you've ever had. Like, you can't just say, oh, I'm sorry. And it like crafted like a mea culpa that was like, you introduced me to this guy. You said this on this date. I said
Mm-hmm.
this. I dropped the ball. Like, it was a very, and I put it through my source code, which I'll tell you about later, but it was done in my voice.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so that would have
One of
been
those
an
powerful
hour.
things.
That would have been an hour of going through the emails,
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, trying to figure it out. And so because of that, I mean, those are the kinds of use cases with Claude, if you attach it to your Gmail,
Mm.
that it will give you the context of all of that kind of stuff. And the reason that I'm mentioning that in the context of what you're talking about is I know like my designer's like a super base thing that can basically say, if it says this, 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 and this, let's
Okay.
cross-reference all these data points and try
Mm.
to direct it to something else that might have been an article in the local paper that mentioned that 2 years ago with
Mm-hmm.
this guy, and here's his LinkedIn, and let's go on his page and see if he's talking about this. Like, there are ways that those kinds of things can
Yeah.
happen. That's super cool. Is that the
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing you're talking about?
So we already do most of that for sales. Like
Right.
AI, by far the most implementation, the most systems we've attached or implemented AI in is sales and marketing. Like
Mhm.
we do a lot with just, hey, could you give us 10 ideas on a subject line? Or
Right.
we're doing this, and they already know us well enough. Like it knows all of our service lines, and it knows our ideal target clients because we'll put a
Mhm.
lot of effort into, we want this. And then, so sales and marketing, we've done that
Right.
pretty extensively. And the core products of actually finding the information that's available. I'll keep on the public open active procurements. The quality of information is so bad. It takes a lot of human time to pick out
Mhm.
the parts and pieces and to craft it into something that's database worthy, right? Like a
Right.
complete sentence, or like, here's what the actual project is. You can't get that until like you get into stuff that AI can't read. It's not very good at reading images, like, because we're trying to convert it into text.
Mhm.
And a lot of our large plan sets, they come across as images. So they're not, it's a PDF, but it still is not good at recognizing characters and converting that into words. So that's the
So
part
it's
we're
funny,
not
as
very
I'm
far
listening
along
to
in.
you, yeah, as I'm listening to you, this is your thing, and I know that this is like the thing that you want to solve.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other piece is that, and this is where it gets kind of like interesting to me. There's your team and getting them sort of AI native and articulate and understanding what that is.
Sure.
There's the ongoing process of like, what can we automate? What should we automate? What will change in the future? Like, where is this going? Do we want to go there yet? Or is it, like you
Mm-hmm.
put in a claw in there and all of a sudden it deletes all your stuff. You're like, okay.
Right. Totally.
So I don't know. I would love to have a separate conversation about all of this because this is like super exciting to me. Like I love
Sure.
this stuff.
Hmm.
But before we jump off, I just wanted to ask you, like, who do you serve? Who's your ideal client profile? What problems are you solving? And how are you doing it differently and better than anybody else in Arizona?
So we are here to serve design and construction companies in Arizona and Nevada who want to build a business. So if you're looking for work, we have great information. We are not just a bid platform. What we hope to do is get you there earlier so that you have more time to reach out to find information so that you can better position yourself to win work. That's the service that we offer. So not just open active bid, it's the pre-bid, it's the closed bid. It's being able to track that and actually analyze the data too and say, here's what's happening in the market. Here's what we believe is going to happen, right? Based on budgets, based on, regulation changes. There's so much movement. It's always interesting, right? There's always so much changing. So we help people prepare and strategize and build their business. If you're in design and construction for Arizona or Nevada, that's what we do.
Love it. And how do people get in touch with you, Rebecca?
Any of our websites, AZBEX.com, NevBex.com, thebexco.com. We got a lot of websites.
I love it.
We actually try. We're actually people, right? So you will be able to find contact information. Like you can pick up the phone and talk, and you can email us, and we get back to you. So we're not necessarily bots. Although if you don't want to talk to us, it's fine. You can just get our free information. Check out the website. That's fine too.
Well, before we end, it's funny. I had an experience. I used to hate bots, right? You'd go on,
Right?
there's a chat bot. It takes you to the FAQ. You're like, oh my God, give me a break. But recently, and this was an aha moment for me. I was on Stripe trying to figure out how to set up my credit card payment thing. And like I hit a wall and it was a little convoluted. And here's the chat bot. And it was a voice chat bot.
Interesting.
And it solved my problem.
See, I'm like 50-50 on chatbots
Right.
working,
Right. Well,
but the 50 is better than you.
yes. This was the amazing part about it. I realized actually I prefer to talk to a robot in
Mm,
that situation
sure.
because it solved my problem. And I don't want a relationship and I don't want to fill out a survey and I don't want to tell you everything. And I don't want to have a relationship. I just want to get the friggin' Stripe thing working. And it so naturally walked me through. Like, what are you seeing on your screen? Click this, click that, because I'm always about very like clear instructions. Like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm seeing. What do I click next?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was like, oh, I hear you're frustrated. I get it. Click this, hit the back button. You're here, you're there. And I got off and I went,
Got it.
wow, this is the future because in those kinds of relationships, I just want my problem solved.
Correct. You don't want to answer. Yeah. And that the chatbots are getting significantly better. So yeah, it's like I said, I'm about 50-50 on actually getting the problem solved versus like, get me to a person.
Well, here's a great one though, because I talked to a lot of AI vendors. There was this guy who invented a voice agent. It's Sammy, right? So for real estate agents, whatever. Well, the instruction they gave to the voice agent was set the appointment, right? So
Mhm.
what happened was she set the appointment for herself to meet the client at the house. She's a bot. She's like, I'll meet you there at 2:00. They're like, uh-oh, we've got to rewire how we do this because
Yeah.
like, no, you can't tell people you'll meet them at the house. Like you're not real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sometimes, sometimes it's hilarious.
it
So we
is.
appreciate that.
I'm going to end now, but stay on for a minute because I want to tell you what the next step is. I just want to say, first of all, Rebecca, this was fantastic. I
Oh,
love
thank
your
you.
story. Love talking to you. Thank you all for
Likewise, you're a great host.
watching. Yeah, this was fun. Real Estate Rewired, AI with a Heart. You want to get in touch with us, just DM us, give me a call, shoot me an email, and keep showing up for stuff. All right, thanks for watching. If you've got value from today's episode, hit subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to know what you're thinking. If you're ready to turn what you love into your superpower and take what you hate off your plate, schedule your free AI discovery call. The link is in the description and pinned comment. I'm Gus Waite. Until next time.